All right, what's up, guys? Today we're talking Ketogenic, combined with IF, which is intermittent fasting.
Oh yeah.
We're both big fans of it. I feel like you're probably the best one to talk about this, but I feel like it's a tool in your tool belt for weight loss, for health, for dropping a bunch of weight in a quick amount of time. Mm-hmm. I know you're doing it right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a tool, so I'm using it when I need it. I'm not using it right now as of this week, but I was using it for the last 2.5, 3 weeks.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. So you've stopped now,
and it works so well for both of us to where you may not utilize it as long as you with other stuff as well.
Yeah. So you kind of like you're eating well, you're losing a bit of weight, but then you just went into keto and you just dropped a significant amount of weight in a quicker period of time, right?
Right. Yeah.
So talk to me about, like, I don't want to go too much detail what keto is because there's a million videos out there explaining it.
Oh yeah.
But I'm like, why it is keto? Why do you use it? How does it work?
And there's so many videos out there from like doctors talking about keto to chiropractors talking about keto, nutritionists, you got bodybuilders, dros. But there's so many different approaches to keto. You have like your hardcore keto diets, you have like your bodybuilder diets, you have your true keto diets. It's like, what the heck is what fits in for me? So my version of a ketogenic approach is more so having the carbs very low to moderate.
Which used to be called the low carb diet, didn't it?
Atkins, low carb.
Yeah.
So it's like, are we trying to go into a ketogenic state to where our body's burning, ketones opposed to carbs for fuel?
Yeah.
And that's technically what you and I do when we go on keto. At least we're trying to go into that keto state. So we might test our blood ketones. I think I'm to the point, maybe you're the same way, to the point where we feel we're in a keto adaptation state, to where we're keto adapted.
Like fat adapted, right?
Yeah.
And you get that from probably fasting the way we do too, right?
That's the other tool too. When you combine, like you said, when you combine the fasting with the ketogenic diet, it's going to work a lot faster in the sense of just going to a ketogenic state, opposed to also when you combine the ketogenic diet and the fasting, you're gonna keto adapt faster.
And easy to get back in. Like last night, I've been on keto for probably 10 days. Last night I had some cereal, I had some candy, and I did the urine test maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours later. I still had traces of ketones in my urine, which I was actually shocked. Yeah, exactly. This morning I was in low ketones, and I know by this afternoon with fasting all day, I'm gonna be probably quite in the middle, back in keto, back in the state, which is crazy, right? And I mean, I put some candy away, I put some sugar down.
Yeah, that's funny too, because last night I actually had dinner with my brother for his birthday. We went to like a steakhouse to where they make like the Benihana's kind of style. They make the food in front of you. So from going to keto to having fried rice and to having steak and shrimp filled with like teriyaki sauce and sugar.
Yeah, the sugar.
Yeah, sugar. And then going to from that meal, I went back to my fast as well. So it's been about maybe 13 hours since I ate from that meal, and I did my blood ketones, and they're already going back into keto state already. So
so you can become fat adapted or keto adapted by doing it on a consistent basis, or fasting for a good amount of time on a consistent basis.
Yes, exactly.
And the main thing keto does, you're using fat for fuel opposed to carbohydrates. Carbohydrates being broken down to glycogen, right?
Yep.
Glycogen being your body's first preferred source of energy.
Right.
We're taking the glycogen away, which generally takes 2 to 5 days, depending on the person.
Person size.
Yeah, once you deplete all your glycogen stores, your body converts into a different source of energy, which is fat.
Right.
And the beauty about that is, if he's in a keto state and I'm in a carb state, right now he's using body fat for energy. I'm using the carbohydrates that I ate last, whether that being this morning, whether that being yesterday. So he's basically going to stay leaner, lose more weight, and more efficient. Right. Would you say that's a good way of putting it?
And people, that's true. People will say, how do you not lose muscle? Because if you're doing a true ketogenic diet, you have to have the proteins very low. Like, I know when we do ketogenic diets, our fats are predominantly our main, source of fuel, and then our energy fuel, and then our protein is actually lower than our fat is. So that doesn't make sense for most people to kind of wrap around their heads. And that's the thing too. Keto is not for everybody, nor is fasting. Like I said, it's a tool that you and I both utilize and use. And a lot of times it's more so, like you said, there's so many different ways to do keto. It's like, what works for you from the foods? Are you going to Jack in the Box and getting bacon and eggs and taking the bread off and you're a keto guy? Or are you actually going and getting
that burger with the salad wrap?
Or are you getting, grass-fed, grass-finished meats? Or actually checking your ketones, whether it be using the strips or pricking your finger, are you actually fat? So it's like, so many things involved. But back to the idea of is it healthy and can you possibly lose muscle? You do actually increase growth hormone when you have ketones in the body, which is actually the predominant fuel source to where you will preserve muscle. And the reason why I kind of go in and out of ketogenic diet, in and out of fasting, because you have to keep in mind, if you're trying to maintain size, once you've got to a very low body fat to where you're lean like you and I are, your body's wants to use a readily available fuel source. And a lot of times if our muscle is more abundant than our fat, our body still may attack the actual muscle. So that's why you want to kind of go in and out of ketogenic states, which is what you did, which is what I did. And then even doing like intermittent fasting, like you said too, if you fast every single day, 16-hour fast, 8 hours eating all the time, and you notice, keyword, if you notice that, hey, I feel like maybe I'm at a plateau or I feel like I'm not getting the results I want, it could be your hormones are dipping. Because if you're fasting for too long or too often, you have to keep in mind your cortisol and your testosterone levels, guys and girls, by the way. If your cortisol levels are too low, or if they're too high, that's going to also throw off your ability to lose weight and also maintain muscle as well. So it's a good idea, long story short, to go in and out of a ketogenic state, in and out of a fasted state. Now, if you personally
kind of tweaking it, right?
And that's the thing too, because you sometimes want to have a break in general. Like, hey, it's my birthday, I want to go out and drink or eat. Go ahead.
Or I'm sick of having 1 meal a day for the last 2 years.
Exactly. Go ahead. Don't feel like the longer you do it, the better. I think everything in general you need breaks from.
Your body, it's kind of adaptation, isn't it?
Right.
Your body will adapt to new variables.
That's a key word right there. Everything adapts. Okay, I'm used to this.
And I've been doing the 1 meal a day for probably a good 4 to 6 months, and it's been working amazing.
Right.
But then going to keto, I probably open my window to a 4 to 6 hour window. I'm eating a lot. I wouldn't say I'm eating a lot more. I'm eating a lot
often.
Yeah, more often. I'm having more meals, which is crazy. I'm having 3-4 meals a day, which I was just having one. And that blows my mind, but I dropped so much weight. Like, I just went, I literally dropped 4 or 5, and I know it's a lot to do with how much water, when you're holding carbohydrates, you're holding water. But it's also encouraging because you do drop that significant amount of weight.
And you can see what's fat, and if you hit your goal, that's the thing, right? It gets rid of, it opens up all the things that you can't really see for doing high carbs, because the water you mentioned, your glycogen is going to be depleted. You don't have as much carbs because which is the water source that has the water. So you're cutting out the carbs, so your sugars, all that's out of the equation. So your body has very little to no stores of glycogen. So you can see, okay, I have body fat left. You continue on keto, that's body fat, that's diminishing, and you can see the results a lot easier. Now, having that fullness look to those people who work out and want to look nice and full and round, it's just water and glycogen. We know muscles are mostly made up of water. So have proper water. And then the key word you were saying, if you need to go in and out of keto. If your main thing is like, say you're doing keto because you have maybe like a certain disease or something's going on health-wise, then it's a different story. But if you're using keto as a tool, intermittent fasting for a tool, feel free to go in and out of that state, because if you're doing it long enough, you can, go back to a fat adaptive state. You can go back and forth. You don't have to stick with that same exact approach. That's another thing too, is like you said, you tracking your blood ketones in the morning, or just keeping track of everything is the main thing about it. Being accountable, being adherent to everything you're doing, because if you're just going through the motions daily, you could be losing not just the body fat, you could be losing muscle as well, as you get more and more lean, that is.
Yeah.
You might need to take a break. You might need to maybe structure your meals differently as well. You might need to do from 1 meal to 3 meals like you're doing a day. So
it's just being consistent and just having fun with it, isn't it? Like, I enjoy tweaking things.
That's the thing. You shouldn't be suffering.
Yeah.
I don't know too many guys or girls that hate eating fatty meats.
Yeah, I mean, and you really, when you become fat adapted, fat is delicious. Yeah. Especially like steak fat. Like,
and here's one thing too, like speaking of like the fats, like you should have a lot of satiety from the fats and the proteins. To me, like, we all know protein has a very high thermic effect, so your body's going to be able to metabolize calories and burn fat easier, and it's going to keep you full. We know the fats are going to be even higher calories, so they're having even more fullness. So you should be full. You should wake up and go to bed not as hungry too, so you have less reasons to cheat or less reasons to crave. At least I do when I'm doing it. So
you're not getting those highs and lows. Your blood sugar's not changing.
Blood sugar keyword is this thing with that. You're just stable.
And I know when you're in keto and you have a big meal and you don't have the carbohydrates, it's so weird, because you're slightly hungry and all of a sudden you're full, but you don't feel any different.
Right.
You just feel a little bit settled. Your stomach hasn't expanded at all. You don't feel bloated at all.
Right.
But you just kind of satiated, and then you move on and continue your day, and it's like nothing's different.
Yeah.
And the one thing I notice at the gym, I feel a little bit skinnier, I feel a little bit flatter when I'm getting to the gym.
Right.
And it takes me a minute to kind of get going, get a bit of a slight pump. I don't pump up as easy because obviously the glycogen.
Right.
But once I get going and I'm pumped up, I feel just as normal as usual.
Yeah.
Do you find that too?
I feel the same, if not a little better. Like the ketones, a lot of times our body likes the ketones regarding cognitive function, being more in the zone for like cognition, meaning more focus. So
like mental focus,
mental
right?
focus more than anything. So like we can say the energy levels maybe depleted because we don't have the actual carbs. But to me, the ketones give me a lot better focus regarding just being able to dial in tunnel vision and work out a little harder.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of volume, as we talked before. I do a ton of volume, ton of sets. So the ketones for me actually help me, if not do even a better service when I work out, opposed to using
sustained
carbs.
Energy to push like that.
And then you're also in a fat burning state too the entire time. So like
and that's the thing, right? You don't have to.
Yeah.
Normally, if you get to the gym, you got to burn through that glycogen before you even think about touching that fat.
Exactly.
From the first second you get walking into the gym, you're burning fat. It's pretty crazy.
And leaving the gym, and that's the thing too. I'll even do to where I'll have a meal, pre-workout meal when I go to train. It's a keto adaptive meal where I'm doing just high fats. Maybe I'll get up in the morning, I'll have some grass-fed beef, and then I'll have maybe some grass-fed butter, and then maybe I'll have a little bit of that's probably mostly what I do for the most part, honestly, because that's when my appetite's not very big. Yeah. So I'll do those two, and I'll work out. Maybe have some aminos too. Of course, people say all the time that might break a fast and whatnot, but I'll have my aminos while I work out. After I work out, I won't have any food. I'll usually fast, for a while, and that's going to intensify the weight loss.
Yeah, hugely, right?
Yeah, because you're depleting your body of glycogen from the ketogenic diet, and then you're also depleting your body when you're working out too. So you're depleting glycogen from working out, from being in ketogenic state, and then you're not eating after, so your body's just burning more and more and more fat, which is why I was able to hit my goal a lot faster. So I'm not doing keto temporarily, but I'm back to just the fasting because I'm like, okay, I've already lost quite a bit of weight. Let me make sure I'm not losing any muscle at this point and kind of reevaluate.
Yeah. It's just like you said. It's just another tool in your toolbox. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it wrong. I'm not saying you should go do it, but I'm not saying you shouldn't do it.
Right.
But one thing I do is I will dive into if I'm learning about keto, I will read everything I can. I'll watch every podcast I can. I'll watch every YouTube video I can find until I feel comfortable where I can teach it. If I can't teach it, I don't know it.
Right.
And that's my approach. With fasting, I just dived, like when I learned it from you, I dived in and I read and I still read everything I can find.
Always more.
And that's why I feel so comfortable to talk about it and share it. And now I'm doing it and I've done it for so long. I feel so comfortable to talk about my experience and talk about what I've learned. And it's just my opinion, it's just my 2 cents, but I'm living and breathing it.
It works. Living proof.
Yeah. So keto, that's kind of our 2 cents on it. Take it for what it is.
Yep.
Any tips on keto? I think just quickly, not taking shortcuts, right?
Yeah,
I know you touched on that a lot.
Yeah, you made the key thing is you said research. People like shortcuts. People like doing the shortcuts. But what you mentioned, which was key, very, very, very key for this particular lifestyle diet tool, like we like to say for keto, it's more of a tool in our opinion because you can go in and out of it, is the research. Everyone's going to have their own opinion on ketogenic diets, what to eat, what not to eat, and you have to do a lot of searching yourself to see what works for you. Like I said, if you ask me, what do? I do a lot of grass-fed, grass-finished meats. Bison. I do steak. Do I do any chicken? Maybe I'll do chicken thighs if I can get some high-quality grass-fed chicken thighs or whole eggs. Some people might say no. I'll do fish only, or I'll do this only. I'll do high nuts. I don't do a lot of nuts myself when I'm doing keto.
So I love my nuts on
So
keto.
It's like, it works for you. You're doing nuts though. I'm doing red meat. Works for me. It's like, okay, what works for me? It's like figure out what works for you. But researching is the main thing you said, which I think is a good idea to do. A lot of this information is free. You can be driving to work, put a podcast on about keto. You can be at the gym on the treadmill.
I can't stress that. I can honestly say I listen between 3 to 4 hours on content every single day. That allows me to knock out about 60 books a year by doing so. So when I'm in the car, when I'm at the gym, if I'm editing photos, whatever it is, I've constantly got information coming in my ears. I posted the same song for the 1000th time. It doesn't deliver any value. And I love music.
Yeah, it's good for the mood, but
do what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then talking about taking shortcuts is just because you can have full fat yogurt or full fat cream or doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. I would go the cleaner proper approach, not taking the shortcuts.
Right.
And since I've been on keto, I've been looking around. Hey, there's some keto cereal here. There's some keto snacks here.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if you actually go and break it down, it's not keto. It's like, oh, it's got 6 grams of sugar per serving, but you're having 3 or 4 servings per bowl. That's not keto. That's going to bump you out of keto very quickly.
Yeah. A lot of marketing going on.
So the number one thing to look for is sugar, I would say. Would you agree with that?
That's one thing that you got to look at. Even certain sugars, whether it be, this is coconut sugar, this is cane sugar, this is,
Sugar is going to bump you out of keto quicker than anything.
Ketogenic diet and ketogenic diet and sugar don't go together, unfortunately.
Yeah. So that's our information. That's our 2 cents on it. And we'll see you next time, guys.